Hi, morning to Soul Sips on Sunday. Yummy coffee. God, what is life without coffee? I suppose someday I might find out. I used to drink coffee all of the day. I used to fall asleep with a cup of coffee beside my bed. And gradually, as my body got a little bit healthier, I could only consume so much. So I consume 2 cups a day, and I'm really comfy with that. But it is one of those small pleasures that I would have such a hard time with losing. But that kind of leads me into this thought and conversation for today. I would like to have with you. If you guys are like, you're probably my age-ish, and we got on Facebook in the past 10 years. We got cell phones. I have to think, when I got my first cell phone, it was definitely a flip up. But when things really started changing was the iPhone, and I think that was around 2000, I don't know, 10-ish? I don't even know. But anyways, when all of that changed and social media came in, I was like, obviously, clearly an adult. I remember different things, watching people on it or always posting. I remember back then it was like absolutely everything was perfect and all the pictures were perfect, and you're like, oh my God, those people are so happy, and that what a beautiful family, and blah blah blah. And I was probably doing it too, and they're having so much fun. And now as we're seeing more come forward, and we're actually getting a little bit real with all the shit that's actually going down and how we're really living. I think COVID brought a lot of that into the surface too. It's the other day I was talking to my sister who's in Toronto, and we are just talking casually. She said, "Oh, another COVID divorce." And I thought, it brought a lot of things to the surface. You had to look at yourself real hard. You had to look at your partners real hard. You had to look at your environment. I don't know how many times I went to just like clobber my children. I often thought about that. If I was going into COVID with a shitty relationship or a lot of stuff going on, it would either go hard right or hard left. But kind of going back to the coffee and habits and routines and what kind of COVID brought to light was exactly that. I thought a lot of my habits and routines became this like, what am I doing all the time and how am I spending my time? Well, what really, through time, I keep trying to make changes, because again, sometimes I just jump all over the place, but I think my mind's going one way or the other. But I like to just keep talking to you to keep it real. But one of the things that I feel that I learned through going through my divorce is that through the busyness and the comfortability of my relationship, I had been dating him for 9 years, and then I had been married 16, 17 years with him. And so you become really comfortable with people, really, really comfortable with people. And you get into grooves, and they're so hard, they're almost ruts, and they're hard to get out of. And it takes a lot of work and sometimes getting uncomfortable to get yourself out of that. And then it's even, how do I do it without him? I want to make the change, but if he doesn't want to make the change, what's that going to look like? So going through those experiences, being in a relationship now, I often will see myself going into that rut or speaking that way or behaving that way. And I now kind of go, oh, we need to do something, because I don't want that to happen, or, I just don't want to experience that again. That wasn't healthy. So I felt COVID did that. And very interestingly, we made a little bit of a pact with ourselves. If we're going to be here home, we're going to be careful that we don't get into these ruts and routines. So we consciously made some decisions as to what we wanted to make sure we spent time doing during COVID. And it was good. And I think a lot of us did a lot of gardening, and we took care of our homes, and we spent time with our kids in different ways that maybe we wouldn't have. And a big thing that I did was I spent time with myself in like a different way. And I really challenged myself to get out of some of my patterns and routines. Well, ironically, last night, my partner and I, we were comparing how much usage time was on our phone. And it was crazy. And I beat him by minutes, but however, we were both in the 4-hour mark. And I know there are days when I'm like over that. And I kind of went, holy shit. I'm like on my phone that much? I can't believe I'm on my phone that much. And I'm like, and you're on your phone that much. What would we be doing if we weren't on our phone that much? And then I went ding, 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 ding. Is this like what happens with relationships and marriages? And you know, we start numbing ourselves and we're just like caught up in, and you guys know this from being, not necessarily being inspired by what's on our social media or what we're watching or what we're into habits and routines. So it kind of sets me into this additional place. I started picking away at this a bit ago when I would open up Facebook and I would see people that would trigger me. And so then I started blocking people. And I remember the day when I told one of my boys, we were talking about something, and there was an individual who wanted to follow me, or it's just open to follow me on Instagram. And I said, no. I said no. And so I blocked that person. And my son got mad at me. And he said, why would you be doing that? Like, that is not nice to do. You should just let her follow you. And it was, and then I would also get, I guess, I don't know how it was, but then I knew I was going to get her information. And I said, no. I get to choose what that world looks like for me. That was the beginning of me really understanding my extended boundaries. And I had a hard time explaining it to him then. And I'm not even sure if I can do it really well right now, other than I really believe there is an importance to boundaries and that you get to set them. And I talked about this last week about betraying ourselves. It's kind of like our rules. It's like what makes us up. And what I'd like to think is even deeper rooted, it's our integrity. And it's whatever I feel works for me and whatever works for you. It's kind of, again, going back to that, you be you, I'll be me. No judgment, no shaming. Let's just let each other be and do, be free, come into my world, go out of my world. We all get to make these decisions. But it's what's integral to who you are versus pleasing other people. And my God, we are masters at pleasing other people, and this whole uncomfortableness to start saying, no, that doesn't work for me anymore. Works in relationships, it can get super uncomfortable when you've always done something a certain way and you start saying that's a rut, or I don't like how I feel when this happens, or when we do this, or when you do that. You can change your story. I think it's good to change our story. We have to be careful that we don't get caught up in the story that we've always told ourselves or we've been told. So, jumping back, we're both looking at our screen time and realizing that we have over 4 hours screen time. And then we get into a conversation, which was really actually cool and uncomfortable. And it was really cool and uncomfortable because we had to both look at each other. What we first had to do was kind of go, I'm not blaming you. And I'm not saying you're worse because you've got 17 minutes more on. It was more like, I was saying to myself, what am I going to do? Are you on board? That was the question. And from my experience with my divorce, it was important that that conversation happen, and that there is a degree that we're on board together. So if he's not on board, that is a whole other conversation of not me manipulating it, but having that conversation and trying to understand why you're not on board and what are we going to do, because I don't think it's healthy. So the cool thing was that we both agreed, holy crap, you know? And the second thing was, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because we have a lot of things that were not similar. And it's not like you're forcing things to be similar, but what would we like to do that would add to our quality time? So this is kind of, again, something interesting that I really encourage you, whether you have a partner or not, you as a person, how are you living? And are you numbing yourself? Are you setting boundaries? Which again, looking at all that stuff is uncomfortable. But you know, and I know, that when we step into that uncomfortable, that's where we actually grow. We see how we can roll in uncomfortable. You know, there was a time ago when I had first just separated from my husband, and I would walk a lot with my girlfriend, and we used to say, when is life going to get easy again? She had just recently separated as well, and we'd be like, why is this so difficult? And why is it so stressful? And why am I so upset? And why is he so upset? And why are the kids upset? And how are we supposed to manage this and everything else? And we would just keep going and saying, when is life going to get easy again? When's it going to get simple? And the reality is as life goes on and as the world that we're in, it doesn't. But what does change is as you choose to step into that uncomfortable, you realize that you've got muscles in you that work, that get stronger. Your resilience is what it is. Your compassion grows. You're letting go of control. And then you're also choosing to grab a hold of what you can, and what you can, I don't want to say control, but what you can add to your life, and what can build on your roots of who you are and where you want to go. It doesn't have to be that story that you've been told, that story that you thought you were going to be living. It's okay. Be flexible. Rigidness is not 2020. It's going with the flow. But anyways, jumping back again, we're looking at our phones. We're saying, hey, we got to make some changes. And what do? Well, here are a few things that I'd like to just share with you, because as we're, again, having this conversation, I said, there's no way we're the only couple out there who is realizing that we're on our friggin' phone so much. And then this doesn't even touch on what our kids are doing or how they're managing it. But for today, it's just about us, because again, they do see us. So we said, all right, well, let's kind of be conscious of this. I used to park my phone all the time. I'd come home from work and I'd park it. It wouldn't move until everybody went to bed, and then I would pick it up and do work. Now I just find it's like my big thing is I go for a walk with the dog. I leave my phone here. But I'm not back in the house 5 minutes and I'm back on that phone checking for messages or whatever it might be. So how long can you park your phone? How long can you go with turning it off? Can you do what I call a Facebook cleanse? And I delete my apps and I go for a time period that I just say, and done. It's okay to go back on them, but to just see if you can you challenge yourself to do that? We actually talk about reading, and not reading on your phone, reading from a book. And then we actually talked about reading together. just there's a more in-depth book that I'm reading that actually I want to have a conversation about, and it's very intellectual on the basis of racism and how it's grown, and it goes into a lot of depths and a lot of stories, and it's something I'd like to discuss because it's difficult and it's mind-boggling to me. And so we said, let's read that book together. We run together. We now have started walking at night together. It's not something that my partner enjoys doing, but we've just kind of eased into it, and he enjoys it more now. We have great conversations, and we're outside, and it's beautiful out. Actually, last night was the first time that we said, oh my God, everybody talks about fall and what a beautiful time of year it is. But both of us agreed that fall means winter's coming. And over the years, it's always been like, fall, that means summer's gone and winter's coming. And, but last night we were like, oh my God, it really is gorgeous out. It really is a beautiful time of year. Can't we just enjoy the now? So it's about changing those stories. It's about stepping into some uncomfortable. I don't know. I certainly don't have any answers, but I just felt like I wanted to talk about this because I just feel like there is no way I am the only person who has 4 hours on my phone. And also kind of questioning where I'm at. Like, if I have 4 hours on my phone, could that have been 4 hours that I could have been hanging out with my kids? I don't think they would have wanted to anyways, but regardless, could I have been, doing something to my partner? Could I have been just simply off doing gardening, yoga, studying, whatever it might be? So playing the piano. So anyways, I encourage you to take a look at that. I encourage you looking at your story. I encourage you to step into some uncomfortable and growing, because you're so capable of it, and you have so much more living to do, and to be fierce. Be fierce. Cheers.